I'm about to teach you how some of the best mentalists in the world can read your mind with a simple piece of paper. I'm going to share with you some of the most important and fundamental secrets that you need to learn as a mentalist. Stick around to the end of the video because you're not going to want to miss this last switch. What is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to another video. Today we got Mentalism 101 episode 13, billet switches. Now we've covered several different topics from theory to tutorials in Mentalism 101, and if you haven't previously seen my episode all about billets, I would start there. That is an absolute prerequisite to what we're going to talk about today in the switches video. We've also talked about peaks and center tears and a ton of other stuff that I would highly recommend you go check out if you haven't seen all of the Mentalism 101 episodes up to this point. This series is all about taking you from a beginner mentalist to an absolute pro, be able to read minds and blow people away wherever you go. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about billet switches. We're going to be talking about a handful of my favorite billet switches. Now, if you guys would like to learn some even more incredible switches, some that I just frankly can't share on YouTube, they're just too good, go check out my Mentalism membership. I'll link it up here. There's also over 25 effects that are currently taught up there, all really great, unique ideas and awesome stuff. If you'd like to learn some of my best material and get some help one-on-one from me, my private lessons are the way to go if you're a mentalist or a card magician looking for a bit of extra help. So if you guys like these kind of videos, make sure you drop me a like, leave me a comment. With all that said, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the video. All right, so before we jump down to the card table and I teach you a couple of these switches, I want to first talk a little bit about switches and the theory behind switches. So a switch is like a card switch. It's when you change one billet for another secretly, right? They don't know that you've switched it for another billet. Now, this is one of the fundamentals of mentalism, right? Billets themselves are one of the fundamental pieces as a mentalist. Every mentalist needs to know how to do billet work, in my opinion. It's not enough to just do apps or do prop lists, because billets are surefire, right? So they'll help you save and help you reinforce your prop list material. But they're also non-electronic, so they'll reinforce the idea that an app could not have been involved when you do electronic magic. And so doing all of these things together will just give you the best mentalism possible, because everything will cancel out the method of the other and you'll be a really well-rounded mentalist. And at the end of the day, this is like the fundamentals. This is like going through card magic without being able to do a false shuffle or do a double lift. And at the end of the day, a billet switch is just like a card switch. Why are switches important? Well, because we've talked about peaks already, we've talked about billet work, but why is a switch important? You can never have too many tools in the toolbox, right? It's like, why are controls versus forces important? They serve different purposes, and it's the same deal. In mentalism, they serve different purposes. Now, a switch, the most important reason for a switch is it often serves as a clean way to get a peak. If they believe this is their billet and I switch it, and now they believe this is their billet, if I just come and stare at this piece of paper, well, it doesn't matter because they think their information is written over here. So obviously that's a big example, but if you ever needed to read their piece of information or peek it in any kind of way, having done a switch allows the peak to be much cleaner and takes all the heat off of the peak. It also allows you to perform predictions where you're switching something in at the end of an effect or at the beginning of an effect after they've revealed the piece of information. It allows you to do a ton of different things. You could have a prediction set on their hand. You ask them to name a number between 1 and 100. You secretly write it down. And then let's say you palm the billet, and as you pick this up, you switch them out, and now they read this one, right? Like, just as a general concept. Those are some of the most important uses for switches. And a lot of cases in mentalism, you'll run into a situation where you need to handle a billet. Maybe there's a folded up billet, and you need to unfold it and peek it. Well, how are you going to do that if they think you're holding it? Well, what you do is you do a switch, and now you can be a lot more free with this hand. Yeah, you still might want to hide the peak, but you don't have to be as careful. So switches are super important. Now, there's a lot of really important psychology that goes into switches. And I talk about this a lot on my Mentalism membership, but I'll give you guys some nuggets in this video. But let's jump down to the card table, and we'll start to go over some of these switches and the psychology behind them. There are these staple books in mentalism, but they don't get as much attention. And one of those books is called Practical Mental Magic by Theodore Anneman. But I understand that not everyone is a huge reader, and a lot of people struggle learning from books. So I am going to break down every single page, every move, every subtlety, every routine on video every single month from this book. Now, if you're someone who likes cards and wants to get into mentalism, or you're just a card worker, or you're a mentalist, experienced or inexperienced, this is the course for you. There are over 200 routines that you'll be learning in this course. I'll be teaching my variations, my handlings, and my key tips, including tips to update these into the 21st century. Now, this membership will be getting a minimum of 2 exclusive videos every single month. To get access to these videos, you have to join the second tier of my membership. You're gonna learn some incredible effects. So to start, I'm gonna urge you guys to be a little bit creative and think about some of the different tools you can already use for switches. Now, I wanna point you to the last episode of Mentalism 101, episode 12, where I discuss using magical methods within mentalism, using card moves in mentalism. So you can use a ton of different card moves as billet moves, right? Billets are just like a deck of cards. So any switches that you can do with cards, you can very likely do with billets. So think about some of the different switches you can use and how they can apply to mentalism. Now, I'm going to give you guys a few ideas, some of my favorites to use and how I use them. And I'm going to talk about some of the psychology behind them. And then you can take that and apply it to your switches. So one of my favorites is the double lift switch. It's so easy, so deceptive. And I've talked about this in this effect right here, convolution. It's a full, incredible piece of mentalism that you can do using this double lift switch. So what you do is you'd hand out a billet and have them write their thought. Okay, whatever it is, name, animal, whatever you're going for. And then this billet, I'll write the word switch on it, but this would obviously not say switch on it. Okay, this would be a blank billet. And as they're signing it, you're gonna get a break under it. Now, you're gonna wanna turn your head away. It's very important that your head is turned away and you emphasize that. You say, I'm gonna look away, just place your card face up on top of this deck. And then you point and you say, can you read it here? And you just wanna do that to confirm that their billet's face up. And now your justification is you show everyone one last time. It looks like this. All right, here, place your billet back on top. I'm gonna look away, make sure I can't see anything. And I really emphasize that. They need to know that I'm looking away, right? So really emphasize that. Now I show everyone, okay, you guys can see that one last time, and now I'll just come at my break and I'll turn everything over and push off the switched billet. So once I'm done showing, I'll grab the double, and I do this all with my head turned, turn it over, push off the switch billet, and now a nice subtlety, I like to fold it up and immediately hand it to them to hold on to. Now I have all kinds of opportunities to peek this billet. Now, one of the most important psychological things, once you do the switch, don't immediately go for your peek right away. Leave it alone. Set it down, fold it up, say, here, hold on to this for me, and set this down. Now go into more of your routine, add some time misdirection. Start to pretend like you're reading them and go through your process. I've discussed process up in this video right here in this series. Go through your process, grab their hands, ask them to visualize what it is they're thinking of, whatever. And now later you can come back and get your peek. Now we need a justification to come back to here. So there are several different ways, and the obvious one is to just grab another billet to write on. So what I would do is I would pick this up and I'd casually shuffle it, and I'm gonna say, you know what, I think I'm gonna try to see if I can get what your word is and write it down on one of these. And as I do that, I'm just gonna casually shuffle their billet from top to bottom, peek it, and then grab a billet as I set everything down and write down what I have just peeked. So a kind of full version of that would be they write it down, I say, here, set it on top, okay, I'm turned away, everyone, you see that, okay, perfect, here. So what I want you to do here, I'm gonna fold this up, you hold on to that. Now I turn back around, maybe I could give this a shuffle now, in fact. I'll just casually give it a mix and just set it down. But again, psychologically, I'm taking attention off the billets. This is really important because it's gonna take away significance from the billet. It's gonna make it feel like the billets do not matter at all. If you know any cold reading, I'm not gonna get into that in this video. I talk about it a lot on my Mentalism membership. The most important thing in billet work is cold reading. Go check out my Mentalism membership if you wanna learn some of that. But this is where you would do some of that cold reading. Make it feel like you're picking up on what's in this billet without even having done your peek. That is gonna allow it to feel like the billets are unimportant. Now I can come back and I'll say, keep focusing on it for me, and I'll pick these up casually and I'll just take a glance at it as I gesture, take a glance at it, and I'll say, you know what? I'm trying to read you here. I think I got it. And then I'll set it down and I can now write my prediction or my reveal. The big problem with a lot of switches is, well, they have this blank billet now. They have the switch billet. And obviously, if you do the reveal, they might be tempted to open that up. So what do? Well, in certain cases, you can switch back, right? You can switch back the billets at the end. But the easiest way is you just write your prediction and you say, okay, here's what we'll do. I've locked this in, let's trade. I'm gonna give you my prediction and I'll take that, and you just set it in your pocket and forget about it. They will not ask to see it, they will forget about it. Okay, that's the easiest way. That's what I often do. And with a fold in this particular double lift switch, that's usually the best thing to do, right? You do your reading. I love the subtlety of folding it up on a double lift, right? So you fold it up, set it down, but now to switch back, you say, you know what, here's my prediction, I'm gonna lock it in, let's trade, and then this just goes into your pocket and you're clean, you're ready to go, and now they can reveal it and see you hit your prediction. So it's very important how you break this up. Break up the moment where you go for your peak and when you do your switch. That's the overarching message. Do your switch, add some time misdirection, and then go for your peak. Now, another card move that we can use is the top change. So the top change is really, really great. I love using the top change. So what I would do, they would sign their billet, I would get ready for the top change, and now I would say, here, let me see this, I'll take it face down. I love this one because you can still do it facing them, right? You don't have to turn around. They hand it to you face down, you say, here's what we'll do. How about you put this billet in between your hands like this, or place your hand on it on the table. And in that, I've done a top change, and now the thought is over here. So again, if you need a link to the top change tutorial, I'll put it right there. But basically you come here, and what I love to do, the justification, I say, here, put this face down. I say, okay, here, hold out your hand like this for me, and then I'll set the billet in their hand. So the justification for the top change is I say, I come back, I do it, and then I say, hold out your hand for me. And I'm coming back to open up my hand, and that's the justification. So I have the thought, and I say, all right, here, just hold out your hand for me like this, and then I set the billet in, and now I'm here. I'm gonna set this down. I'm not gonna go for the peak right away. I can shuffle this to the bottom and be ready to do my peak. Like I can casually, after I do the switch, I would just casually shuffle it to the bottom and then set it down just so that it's ready for me to peak on the bottom of the deck when I'm ready later on. Now the beauty about this, and when you don't do this fold method, which I don't think works as well here, I think it works really well with the double because your head's turned and everything. But now, when the routine is done, right, you've shuffled this to the bottom, you got your peak, okay? Now you're gonna take a billet, you're gonna write down your prediction, okay? You hand this to them, and now you say, I've locked it in, you can leave this billet on the table, so they'll leave this now on the table. You say, okay, for the first time, what are you thinking of? They'll say their thought, and you reveal that you guessed it right. Now, you can easily switch it back at the end. So one of my favorite ways is to pick up the deck like this, so it's facing you. Now just keep it towards you, and you're gonna get a break under it. Now you just kill your wrist and keep it towards you. Now you're gonna flip this and miscall what it is that it says. So if it was cat, right, you've got your peak already and you had predicted it, and they turn it around and it says cat, and you go like this, you go, huh, you did write cat, and then you can thumb it off and show it. So what you're doing, the thought's on the bottom like this, you grab the blank billet, you pretend to read it, you're saying, oh yeah, you did write cat. As you do that, you're squaring up, turning over the double, and then thumbing it off, and you've done the switch. So you can switch it back using the double lift switch. Another option would be to shift it back to the top casually, sort of as they're going for the reveal. So they have this, you say, here, take a look. As they do that, you casually shuffle it so it's back on top. Now, once they've opened it, you're gonna come and top change again as you set this down on the table, right? So it's very simple. They open it, you take this back and you say, oh yeah, you did write cat, right? And now you're cleaned up. So the next one, I'm gonna give you guys a awesome little switch, a little taste of my Mentalism membership. There's a ton of great switches and methods like this that are taught on my Mentalism membership, and I'm gonna teach you just a little one, just a little bonus, just to give you guys a little taste. If you like this, go check out the membership linked in the description because there is a lot of other great stuff on there. So this is the first method of billet switching by Theodore Hanneman out of his Practical Mental Magic book. It basically looks like this. You have a word written down, you have it at the fingertips, and it can be set down right over here. You can tap it with the magic wand and it switches just like that. So this is the one-handed billet switch. So it involves usually a dummy billet switch. And again, on my membership, I've taught a ton of effects that you can also do with this. But you're gonna have a dummy billet or a switch billet in a finger palm. Okay, I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but I would recommend you fold your billet in quarters, sometimes more if you need it, and you can hide it behind two fingers like this. Casual finger palm, you're gonna hold it at the fingertips. You wanna make sure that this billet is just slightly overlapping the billet in your hand. So it just slightly, the corner slightly goes over top, and that's where you're gonna hold it at the fingertips. So you're gonna pick it up and put it in that position so it's slightly overlapped like that. Now you can hold it at the fingertips until the moment you're ready for your switch. I like to do this as I'm moving from one place to another, typically to set down the billet or place it in the spectator's hand. I might say, here, hold out your hand for me just like this, and then I can set down, and in that I do the switch. Now the mechanics, you're drawing this back on top of the other billet and then immediately pulling these fingers back and pushing both billets forward as a double. Now, once that's there, you can then retract the thumb and pull this other billet into finger palm. So the mechanics are this from the exposed view, like that. And that's how you do the switch. And I like it because you get this visual retention because of that pulling back of the fingers, where it basically feels like they never don't see the billet. So in this case, I have the word prediction. I hold it here, I hold it there, and then I set it down, and you basically saw the billet for the pretty much what felt like the whole sequence, and I've executed the switch. So again, you place the billet with a bit overlapped. You're gonna retract with the thumb so it's even, pull these fingers back, and then kick forward with the fingers as you retract with the thumb. So you come here, you push and pull. So one more time at speed, prediction, set down here, like that. Now that is kind of the way that I like to do it. I like to pull it over, retract the fingers so that the billet is almost in view the entire time, and kick it out. But the way Animan originally wrote it up is you would just pull back, and then your thumb's gonna go over top and kind of clip this and then kick it forward while the other billet stays back into a palm. Now this next switch is one I absolutely love. It's a quick little idea, but it's super great and it works really well. So let's say they write down their thought, and now I'm gonna make a prediction on my phone as to what their thought is. So they can hold on to their thought, and I'm gonna make my prediction. All right, so I've locked in my prediction. I'm gonna hold my phone facing you. Actually, you know what? I think it's just hit me. I'm gonna make one little tweak. I'm gonna change for this. I almost went for this. I'm gonna change. I had written two things. I'm gonna change it to one. Let's go this. And I've locked my phone and I hold it towards them. They now reveal that they were thinking of the word thought, and I can unlock my phone and show them that it was the word thought. So this is actually a brilliant little switch slash almost a routine using the phone. It uses an under the phone switch that I think is super, super deceptive. So you're gonna have your switch billet set underneath your phone. This can be away in your pocket with the billet against the back of your phone, and you can just pull it out and keep it concealed, or you can have it set on the table. And when you do that, I recommend you have it off the table a little bit so you can easily pick up with the billet. And as they write their thought, you're gonna tell them you're gonna make a prediction on your phone. So what you wanna do is you wanna hold the billet with the phone underneath. You're gonna grab their billet face down, and you're just gonna transfer the phone into the other hand. The phone is gonna go, and this billet's gonna sit on the bottom while you pull out the switch billet, and everything gets hidden. And at speed, it looks super good. It looks like you've just transferred the billet into the other hand. And now you can say, you know what? How about you hold on to that? Now, obviously, you'll need a justification to pick up the billet for a moment. You know, you might say, here, all right, set that in my hand for a second. Now I'm gonna make a prediction on my phone. Actually, you know what? I don't even want you to think I touched this. You hold on to it. Now, this little ruse to get the peek that I like. You go in, you're gonna say, I'm gonna write my prediction down in my notes. You open a note, you pretend to write something. You don't actually write anything. You say, all right, I've locked it in. I'm gonna turn it towards you so the screen's facing them, and now you just peek the word on the back. Now you say, you know what? Actually, oh, I just had a change of heart, and you turn it back towards you, and again, your palm can hide the billet hidden underneath. You open up your phone, you write down the actual word. A nice subtlety is to say, I actually had written two things. I'm gonna erase one of them. I'm gonna go for the second one instead. Now you write down the word and you turn it back, unlock your phone, and they can see the reveal happen right away. And if you really wanted, you can now pick this up and say, and look, in fact, you did write the word thought, and do another under the phone switch. So that is an incredible, incredible idea. And you could even turn that into a full little routine with that. Now, if you wanna learn one of my all-time favorite billet switches, that is gonna take one of the switches I taught you to the next level. Go check out this video right here. It is one of my favorite switches and absolutely killer. All right, guys, that is it for me on Mentalism 101, episode 13, all about billet switches. I hope you guys enjoyed it. What was your favorite switch of the video? Please let me know down in the comments below. If you like these type of videos, make sure you drop a like, leave me a comment, share it. And if you'd like to check out some private lessons or my Mentalism membership, where you can take a lot of what we covered here to the next level, learn some effects you can apply it to, and some even more incredible switches, you can go check that out at the link in the description as well. And with all that said, guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.